In 1993, British authorities demolished the densest living space in the world. 33,000 people had come to live in the space of 6.5 acres, or 5,000 people per acre. Over the course of 20 years, 300 buildings had been crammed into the space of 4 soccer fields. They were connected by a maze of alleys, staircases, and bridges, and soon became infamous as a lawless land of triads, drugs, prostitutes, and rogue dentists. But since their destruction, these buildings have taken on a new identity of community and cooperation. This uncertain legacy is indicative of Hong Kong's colonial history, and it struggles to forge its own identity amid foreign pressures. This is the walled city of Kowloon. Kowloon City began its history as a small Chinese fort on the coast of Kowloon Bay. Britain came to control the fort along with the rest of the Hong Kong area. After World War II, in which the fort was dismantled by Japanese forces, the nationalist Chinese government demanded rights to the area of the former fort. The Foreign Office of England recommended that they agree to cede jurisdiction to the Chinese government, so long as they agree not to make use of that jurisdiction. This put Kowloon in a sort of a legal gray zone, in which neither government had complete control of the area. After the war, people began to move into the Kowloon Walled City area due to cheaper housing. In the 70s, rising building costs and housing prices across Hong Kong led to the continued construction of apartments, leading to multi-layered maze-like web of rooms and alleyways that we see here. Buildings were being built on top of buildings, and the population skyrocketed, tripling from 1971 to 1987. Garbage and exposed wires filled alleyways, and residents relied on nearby wells outside the walled city for potable drinking water. This, of course, opened the door for crime. Triad groups moved in, police stayed out, and the groups established vice industries: gambling, prostitution, and drugs. That's not all. The area accommodated a full range of illegal activities. A former law professor at the University of Hong Kong describes the activities of, quote, unregistered doctors with thriving abortion practices, or dentists, common criminals, prostitutes, drug pushers, and operators, spies, touts, or militia of gambling dens, blue movie parlors, and dog meat restaurants. Kowloon City was soon condemned by both the Chinese and British as a blemish on their nations. China found the city embarrassing, and British Hong Kong was concerned about the crime and hazardous conditions being used as anti-British propaganda. Both were helpless to do anything about the city. The people of the area, Hong Kong, felt much the same way. Academics from the University of Hong Kong state that, quote, most people familiar with Hong Kong think the city was lawless, and that it was a Hobbesian state of affairs with an unimaginable harsh living environment. The Kowloon Walled City had been completely othered by China, by the British government, and by the people of Hong Kong. It was both physically and psychologically isolated from mainstream Hong Kong. In December of 1992, the Hong Kong government began planning for the demolition of the city with China's blessing. By April of 1994, the walled city was gone, and a park was constructed in its stead, featuring Qing Dynasty-styled gardens. Yet, as soon as 1999, public perception of the city had shifted. It became a symbol of autonomy, hard work, and community. Why this shift in public perception? Well, in 1997, sovereignty over Hong Kong was officially transferred from Great Britain to China. The people of Hong Kong doubted China's commitment to democracy. It seemed only a matter of time until one country, two systems was null and void. Even if China were to uphold its end of the deal, Hong Kong would lose all its autonomy in 50 years' time. Hong Kongers and people around the world were already counting down the years until the city was recolonized. This pressure led to a new culture in politics, in art and cinema, and in the reconsideration of Kowloon's legacy. In interviews and conversations, former residents of the walled city recalled life there with fondness. The restaurants, the closeness, the reliance on their neighbors. They recalled the Kaifeng Association that assured fair rent, the mailman journeying through the alleyways, and the educators carving out just enough space for childcare and grade schools. Crime made up only a small part of the city. The rest was people simply trying to live well in the circumstances they had. To quote Jung Jun Lee, the Kowloon Walled City eventually came to be remembered as harmonious, self-reliant, resilient, heterogeneous, organic, adaptive, an outlook many desired for post-colonial Hong Kong. In 2014, this battle for identity came to a head during the Umbrella Revolution, in which tens of thousands of protesters blocked roads and stood firm against Beijing. At the same time, those protesters also disliked the current system, a system in which corporations and special interest groups have an excise sway on politics. The people of Hong Kong find themselves looking for a third way. They do not want the way of Chinese authority, nor to continue the way of neoliberalism. They want a way that is fundamentally Hong Kong. To many, the city of Kowloon represents this way. The walled city existed between the poles of two national powers, made up of crime, of community, and of family, demolished by the British and replaced with Chinese gardens. Yet the city still stands as a symbol of the third way, the Hong Kong way. Hi all, thanks to all who watched this. It was really fun to research. There's all kinds of beautiful, beautiful photographs out there of the city before it was demolished. And it had a huge sway on Hong Kong cinema, like John Woo and Infernal Affairs and all that kind of stuff. So check out some Hong Kong movies. You'll probably see some influence from the City of Darkness in that. Yeah. Thanks for watching.